Hello, welcome to this class. Last time we looked at the number system of Roman numerals and we concluded it in our last class. So today we are moving into another topic, approximation and estimation of numbers. Sometimes when you have observed a one, she wants to, let's say she wants to go to the market and or go to the shopping mall to pick up some things. You see her sit down. It's either she writes down the items she wants to buy, or you see her talking about, like, okay, we need to buy this, we need to buy that, we need to buy that. How much will this cost and how much will that cost? Have you observed that? What is she doing? She's trying to estimate what she wants to buy and what they might cost. So approximation and estimation is a concept we use in our daily living. All right? Sometimes you might be asked, Somi, how long do you think it will take you to do this? Say, it will take me maybe an hour or less. You are estimating time it will take you to finish that particular task. So today we are moving into approximation and estimation of numbers. Now, whenever we talk about approximation and estimation of numbers, we are always considering the unit numbers. In approximation and estimation of numbers, we consider the unit numbers, and the unit numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now, with these unit numbers, we will divide them into two groups, Group A and Group B. In Group A, we have numbers like 1, 2, 3, and 4. In Group B, we have numbers like 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. In other words, we can say that we are looking at numbers in Group A, numbers less than 5, and in Group B, we are looking at numbers greater than or equal to 5, meaning from 5 and above. Okay? Now, why do we put this into groups? It's because in approximation and estimation of numbers, we are always considering a particular number belonging to a particular place value, depending on the place value we are approximating to or estimating to. Now, having divided these unit numbers into two groups, Group A and Group B, where Group A are 1, 2, 3, 4, members of Group B are 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Whenever we are rounding, let's say to the nearest tens, and we are considering a digit that belongs to Group A, meaning that the digit we in consideration can be 4, 3, 2, or 1. If the digit we are considering is any of these digits, we will then round down. We say that we are rounding down. But if the digit in consideration belongs to Group B, meaning that the digit is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then we say we are rounding up. Now, for example, if a question asks us to round to the nearest tens, if your question says round to the nearest tens, what place value did you hear? Tens. Okay, let me have million, hundreds of thousand, tens of thousand, thousand, hundred, tens, and units. Now, whenever the question says round to the nearest tens, you consider the digit in the unit place value. Whenever the question says round to the nearest tens, you consider the digit in the unit place value, meaning that is the digit in Group A or in Group B. If the digit in the unit place value belongs to Group A, then know that you are rounding down. And to round down simply means that the digit in the unit value, let's say that the digit here is 3. To round down simply means that this digit will now become 0. Then every other digit remains the same. To round down means that the digit considered will become 0. and every other digit will remain the same. If a question says round to the nearest hundreds, let me use numbers. Round to the nearest hundred. Whenever you are rounding to the nearest hundred, you consider the digit in the tens place value. If the digit in the tens place value belongs to group A, you still round down. What it now do is that the digit in the unit place value will become 0. The digit in the tens place value will become 0. Then from 100 and above remains the same. Are we following? Then, suppose we are asked to round to the nearest 1,000. We now consider what? The hundredth place value. Now, let's say that the digit in the hundredth place value is from group B. Let's say here we have 6 as an example. Let's say the digit in the hundred is 6. Remember, we are rounding to the nearest thousands. Now, if the digit is in group P, remember at this point we said we will round up. Now, what does it mean to round up? To round up simply means that the digit in tens and units will become 0. The digit in hundreds, which is 6, at this point coming from group A, will also turn to 0. But the digit in the thousands will change by we adding 1 to the thousands. So let's say the digit here is 5. Instead of remaining 5, we will simply add 1 to the 5 and here will become 6. That is how to round up. Now in rounding down, the number that was rounded or that is being rounded down will be lesser than the original number. Will be bigger than the rounded number. Let's say, for example, we have 23. If we round 23 to the nearest tens, meaning that we will consider the what? The unit place value, right? Is 3 in group A, group B, group A, so we round down. I will say that to round down simply means that this unit will become 0, the tens will remain the same. Now, do you notice that this 20 here is our rounded figure? Now, the initial number we rounded is 23. Now, you notice that our rounded figure is smaller than the initial number. So that's it. Whenever you round down, the rounded number is always smaller than the original number. But let's say here I have something like 27, and I want to round 27 to the nearest tens. The same thing. I will consider the unit place value because I'm rounding to the nearest tens. Right? Now, what is 7? 7 is in what group? Group B. And we say that if the digit in consideration belongs to group B, we round up. What does it mean to round up? To round up means that this unit will become 0, but we will add 1 to the tens. And here we simply become 3. Now, if you watch, you notice that the number here, 30, is our rounded figure. The number 27 is the number we approximated to get 30. So when rounding up, the approximated number is bigger than the original number. It's greater than the original number. So this is it about rounding of numbers. Okay? Now let's solve some examples to practice what we've just learned. Are you ready? Okay. Okay. All right. Example 1. It says, approximate the following numbers to the nearest 10. Approximate the following numbers to the nearest 10. A, 54. Approximate the following to the nearest tens, and we have 54. Remember what I said? Whenever you are approximating to the nearest 10, you consider the unit place value. So, what's the first thing to do here? The first thing we simply do here is we arrange this in tens and units. That's the place value system. I have 54. Since I'm rounding to the nearest tens, I will consider the what? Unit place value. What digit is this? 4. What group does this 4 belong to? Group A. And when we consider a number in group A, we round down. And rounding down means what? The number in the unit becomes 0. The number in the tens remains the same. Meaning that 50 rounded to the near 54 rounded to the nearest tens is 50. Whenever you round to the nearest tens, the number will be as if you are counting in tens. Alright? Good. Now let's look at this. Let's say B. It says round to the nearest tens, 78. Okay, solution. What's the first thing to do? Arrange in place value system. Meaning that this is tens and unit because this is a two-digit number. I now have 78. I'm rounding to the nearest ten, so I consider the unit place value. Right? What digit is this? 8. What group? Group B. So we round up. We rounding up simply means that the unit will become what? 0 again. But what happens to 10? We add 1. Okay? Now 1 plus 7, 8. Meaning that 78 rounded to the nearest tens is 80. C. Let's say we are rounding 3,491 to the nearest tens. We are rounding 3,491 to the nearest tens. Solution. What's the first thing to do? Arrange in the place value system. And this is 4-digit number, so we have 1,000, 100, tens, and units. C. No matter how big the number is, it is not our concern. Our concern is in whenever we are rounding to the nearest tens, we consider the units. So our concern will not become tens and units, not minding how big the number is, even if it is up to billions. So since we are rounding to the nearest tens, we will still consider our unit number. Now what happens? The number here is what? 1. It belongs to group A, so we round down. And rounding down simply means that here we now become what? 0. Here we remain the same. Now what happens to these places? We bring them down, they remain the same. I say they remain the same. So 3,491 rounded to the nearest tens becomes 3,490. Okay? Alright, let's look at example number 2. Let's say here, example number 2. Example 2. It says, round to the nearest 100. Round to the nearest round to the nearest 100. A. $353. Now we are rounding to the nearest 100. Okay? And remember what I said. When you are asked to round to the nearest tens, you consider the unit. If you are rounding to the nearest 100, you consider the tens. So, having given this solution, what's the first thing to do? Arrange in place value system. So here we have 100 tens and units, and I have 353. At this point, I am rounding to the nearest 100 or to the nearest 100. So I will consider the tens number. Automatically, the unit becomes what? 0. You're not doing anything with it. It simply becomes 0. Any number from the line you ruled to the right will be zeros. Alright? Now 5 is in what group? Group A or group B? Group B. So we round up. Now what does it mean? That the digits in tens will now become 0 while we add 1 to the 100th place value. 1 plus 3, 4. Meaning that 353 rounded to the the nearest tens will give us 400. Example B. Example B, we have 803. Solution. So this is still 100 tens and units. 803. Confusion. Okay, now looking at this, we are rounding to the nearest 100. Let's draw a line between 100 and tens. So we consider this. But 0 belongs to none of the groups. There is no 0 in any of the groups, right? So here simply becomes 0, 0, 8. Meaning we round it down. Okay? Okay? So that's it. C, for example. In C, let's say we have 4,391. I think I've written this. Okay, this is 300. Okay, solution. The same thing. This is 1,000, 100, tens, and units. I have 4, 3, 9, 1. And I'm rounding this number to the nearest 100. So whenever we round to the nearest 100, we consider the tens. So I have my line here. I'm considering the tens. Unit becomes 0. What group is this digit? Group A or Group B? Group B. So we round up. And rounding up means that here we now become 0. Then we add 1 to the 100. The 1 is added to the place value you are rounding to. Alright? Now 1 plus 3 is 4. We do what here? We bring it down. 4. Meaning that 4,391 rounded to the nearest 100 will give us 4,400. Alright? Now let's look at this. Okay? Let's see example number 3. Example 3. Round. Okay, let me change this. Let me put it. Estimate to the nearest 1,000. Okay. Estimate to the nearest 1,000. Let's say here I have 5,455. Now at this point, I want to round 5,455 to the nearest 1,000. Remember, when you round to the nearest tens, you consider the units. When you round to the nearest 100, you consider the tens. When you now round to the nearest 1,000, you consider the hundreds. So, solution. What's the first thing to do? Arrange this in place value system. I have 1,000, 100, tens, and units. So I have this. Rounding to the nearest 1,000, we consider the 100. And remember what I said. Once you've made your strokes, the tens and units, every number here becomes what? 0. 4 is in what group? Group A or Group B? Group A. So we round down. 4 will become now 0 and we bring down 5. Meaning that 5,455 rounded to the nearest 1,000 is 5,000. B. Let's cut the example B. We have 17,392. 17,392. Solution. What's the first thing we do? Place value system. So we have tens of thousand, thousand, hundred, tens, and units. Since we are rounding to the nearest 1,000, we consider the 100. Tens and unit becomes 0. What group is 3? Group A or Group B? Group A, so we round down. 3 becomes 0, 7 remains the same, 1 remains the same. Meaning that 17,392 rounded to the nearest thousand is 17,000. C. Let's say I have 349,200 and let's say 348,923. I want to round 348,923 to the nearest thousand. So, solution. So we arrange hundreds of thousand, tens of thousand, thousand, hundred, tens, and units. So I have 348,923. Okay? So, since we are rounding to the nearest thousand, we consider the hundreds place value. Meaning that the unit becomes 0, tens becomes 0. We now ask ourselves, the digit in consideration, what group does it belong to? So what group is 9? Group B. We round up. And rounding up means what? That 9 will become 0 and we will add 1 to the thousands. Now 1 plus 8 is what? 9. Bring down 4. Bring down 3. Meaning that 348,923 rounded to the nearest thousand will give us 349,000. Okay? Alright, we will stop here. But this is not all in approximation. But it is still this same method and this same approach to everything. You can still have an approximation problem that says round to the nearest tens of thousand, round to the nearest million, round to the nearest billion, round to the nearest quadrillion. Any part that you were asked to round to, always consider the place value one step below the place value you are rounding to. Then if the group belongs to group A, group B, you round down or you round up. Is that okay? Good. That is that about approximation and estimation of whole numbers. We also have approximation and estimation of decimal numbers. In approximating and estimating decimal numbers, we either round to the nearest whole number or we round to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places, 4 decimal places, depending on what the question says. So in our next class, after we have internalized estimation of whole numbers to the nearest tens, hundred, thousands, tens of thousands and so, we will now move over to decimal numbers and how to approximate and estimate decimal numbers. Is that okay? Alright. Okay, thank you for being in this class. Remember the pattern, watch the videos, watch it and watch it till you understand the concept, do your work and practice. Remember, the more we practice, the more better we become at it and the more perfect and easy it becomes. Alright? So see you on our next class.